In this video, we're going to take a look at the strategies of creating variations introduced in this book by Dennis DeSantis called Making Music: 74 Creative Strategies for Electronic Music Producers. These strategies are very helpful for developing a full track from a short idea. So let's say I have difficulty developing this 4-bar loop, and I'm going to use the first strategy to develop this idea. The first thing we need to do is create duplicates of the original idea. So I'm going to make 3 copies. We're going to keep this one untouched because we want to keep the original idea as it is. So the workflow of the first strategy is that we make one meaningful change for each of these copies. And to decide what to change, the book suggests that we can consider these broad categories of fundamental music parameters. So it can be harmony or rhythm and so on. For the first variation, I'm going to change the rhythm. Here is the drum track. Let's select some of these kicks and shift them to the right. Delete the last beat, and I'm going to use this region. Also, let's put some swing. Make sure that all the MIDI notes are selected, and I'm going to come here, 16th note swing C, and let's also fix these notes to be on the grid. Cool, so that's our first variation. Moving on to the second one, let's pick another category. I'm going to change harmony. So I'm going to pick the keys and change the chords. There's so many things you can do, but I'm going to try to keep this simple for this demo. So I'm going to select the top notes for each chord and mute them. And this should make it sound a little bit less bright. And for these bits, select them all first and bring them an octave down. So that will be Shift, Option, and down arrow. And as you can see, the interval is an octave between these notes, but I'm going to select the top layers and reduce the interval. So yeah, shifting octaves and muting some notes can be great ways of creating variations. So that's our second variation. And moving on to the third one, let's change the sound. I'm going to duplicate the keys track, move the region over here, open the inspector. We are using sampler right now, but let's choose something different. I'm going to choose sculpture. And if you want a drastic change, it's always a good idea to go through the presets and choose something completely different. So for example, in this case, it doesn't have to be keys. You can choose percussion, sequences, warped sculptures, and it can lead to a pretty interesting result using the same region. But for this demo, let's choose something closer. I'm going to choose pads. Reduce the cutoff. Cool. This can even be a layer to the keys. So we came up with 3 variations. Let's have a listen to everything. So with this first strategy, we should end up with a series of variations that sound still very close to the original. And because we've made only one meaningful change to each of the duplicates, the relationship to the original will be clear. Now let's try another strategy, which is slightly different. First, I'm gonna duplicate the original idea once. And the way it goes is that we make one meaningful change and we copy the changed version and we add another change and copy the changed version. So this way we are accumulating all the changes, and the more times we repeat this process, the more different the final results will be from the original idea. So let's try this strategy. Here's our first variation, and I'm going to change the rhythm. This time, I'm going to bring the kick closer to the downbeat, like this. Okay, so that's our first variation. And copy this to add another change. Let's take a look at the bass track. First, I'm gonna bring up the velocities and bring these two notes down. Let's match the rhythm of the bass line to the kick pattern that we just made. So that would be something like this. Do the same here. Okay, let's add an extra note here for the transition and also at the end. Okay, so that's our second variation. We duplicate this and add another change. So for this one, I'm going to use a MIDI effect. Duplicate the keys, open the inspector, and here I'm going to insert an arpeggiator. Move the region over here, and let's have a listen. Let's choose one of the grooves from the presets. So this instrument is something that I picked from the Apple Loops, and it came with a send effect already with a bus. And as you can see, it's connected to Space Designer, which is a reverb. I'm going to turn this on and adjust the send level. Okay, so let's have a listen to everything. That's the original. The final variation is already pretty different from the original, and you can see the difference between the two strategies. So these strategies are great for developing an idea into a full track and in a very organized manner. Once you've made enough variations, you can start to build an arrangement.